Step back, Jay. Harden. Bullseye.
Sixers looking very focused in the second half. Maxey looking for more. He's got it!
Daniel House, little up and under on the lob, and then flies in with the emphatic one-hand jam.
Niang looking for more from outside. Bang, bang, George Niang!
Joel, the process heavy.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Pick Swap Podcast. It's National Championship Monday. Always an exciting feeling. It's early April. The sun is out, and the regular season is about to come to the end. It's me and Sean Barnard as usual. Sean, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, beautiful day out. Beautiful day for basketball through most of the madness of March. Saw the girls' tournament wrap up yesterday. Guys through the Final Four championship tonight. So that feels good. Getting a little bit more nervous about the Sixers team. Feels like we're kind of limping our way to the end of the season. But nonetheless, playoffs are right here, and this is what we've been waiting on. So I'm good to go.
Yeah, the real season starts in about 2 weeks, so we got some time here with this regular season winding down. I know a lot of things have happened since the last time I was on. You got to talk a bit about the Embiid-less Nuggets game last week. We will refrain from talking about it, and we'll move forward to, the last couple of games and then looking forward towards the end of the season here. So we want to touch on last night a bit. We're going to cover a couple of different things. We'll talk about Tobias. We'll talk about the MVP race, of course. We'll talk about, the potential playoff matchup impending here. But we'll start with last night, and we'll kind of, circle around, do some generic overview of the last couple of games. But, tough loss for the Sixers in Milwaukee last night. One that I feel like a lot of people had circled on the calendar, seeming like a pretty important game. Bucks shot an unbelievable percentage from the field. Sixers, quite the opposite, struggled to put anything down from beyond the arc and just looked pretty lifeless for the majority of that game. So walk me through last night. Just what were you thinking through that game?
Yeah, this Bucks team is the real deal. This is for sure, in my mind, the title favorites, the guy that have cemented their spot as the biggest threat across the entire league. This is a scary team to face in 7 games, and we saw why last night. And it's not just why last night. I think this team can win in a number of different ways. They feel like they're hitting their stride at the right time. Chris Middleton's kind of battled throughout the year. It looks like he's getting back to doing his thing. Drew Holiday's still playing terrific basketball, and Giannis is still Giannis. Him making his own little MVP push that seems to be getting a little bit more traction than I think people are kind of giving it credit. He's definitely going to take at least some MVP votes when things kind of sort down, see if it splits the ballot or how things all shake out with that. But yeah, this Bucks team is the real deal. They've got a lot of just guys that are superstars in their role. The Brook Lopez's, the Jay Crowders, all these guys that just rotate in and do their job at a high level. And the Sixers do not exactly have that same comparison. So I was waiting last night for it to become a game. They snuck back in and made it like a 6-point game in the third quarter, thanks to Tyrese Maxey kind of doing his thing, but it never really became a true game. And I think the game really ended when Doc Rivers did not have the trust in Joel Embiid to play through the 4 fouls. The Bucks, on the other hand, gambled, put Giannis in back with it, and the game kind of separated from there. So yeah, it was disappointing. I wanted to see a better result, but it is what it is. We move on.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the boat right now. I don't care. I don't really care. I'm going to move on. I'm going to forget about it. The season series was 2-2 against the Bucks. We've seen games where the Sixers came back and handed them tough losses in Milwaukee, and one here at home as well. And I feel like this is kind of the punching back and forth between these two teams. Really quality teams that potentially could see each other in the playoffs. The Sixers are basically locked into that 3 seed at this point, especially with that loss and everything. But it is what it is. They for the first quarter, like, they legit didn't miss. I think they shot like 70% from the field in the first quarter, similar to what the Sixers did the other night against the Raptors. So it's one of those things. It happens. The Bucks are a really good team, top to bottom, like you mentioned, really strong. Like they when they are locked in defensively are really, really tough. And it showed last night. The Sixers struggled on a lot of different portions. Harden didn't get to the rim like at all. Obviously Maxey had a really good game, but the Sixers struggled from beyond the arc. Like, George was out there just getting cardio yesterday, just, one of those Tony Snell type games. And
It's been rough.
it's been tough for him recently. So, the role players got to find their footing again. I really do enjoy that lineup with, Harden and the athletes, like bringing in Paul Reed and McDaniels and Daniel House, and whether it's Shake or whoever else you want to throw in there. I love that lineup. It's a ton of fun to watch. So I feel like there's little silver linings you're kind of catching up on here, but I feel like the focus right now is get to the playoffs and get there healthy. And, some nights you lose in those games, and it just happened to be one of those nights.
Yeah, I have no problem with your mindset of, I don't care. Let's just get to the playoffs. I do have a little bit of the mindset that I feel like these Sixers feel the exact same way. Kind of watching them, that feels like what they're thinking as well, which is not as great of an idea. We're not the ones out here playing in actual basketball games, which they kind of are. They kind of are there. So we are seeing a little bit of that. There still are positive signs. I agree. I think that lineup is now the key to the Sixers team. When we look at this second unit team, it feels like it's like the teams that have been blowing Sixers out for years now. It's like just having these quick twitch, fast athletes, a change of pace. Especially, it's such a great contrast compared to these starters who guys like Joel Embiid and James Harden, as talented and as great as they are, they're not known for their pace of play or, just game-changing athleticism, either one of them. So to have that kind of burst off the bench, I love it. Just James Harden with Daniel House, Jalen McDaniels, Paul Reed. Paul Reed has been terrific, man. He just is doing Paul Reed things. Like every game, there's like a couple moments where he kind of changes it. It was very frustrating in this Bucks game when Doc Rivers pulled him the direct possession after getting back-to-back offensive rebounds in the same possession. And he's being way smarter with the ball. He's kicking things out more. It's not an automatic get a rebound and go back up. He's making smart decisions. We did see a terrific B-ball Paul moment in that Raptors game where he missed the dunk, then hung on the rim, reached back and tried to bring it back and realized what he did right away. You could see it in his face. So there's still, it's pure comedy, it's pure gold, but he makes game-changing plays, and I love him. They need that motor. So I am happy that we are kind of seeing the Paul Reed experience on full display. There's still a part of me that's worried that it's not going to stay that way.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Paul right now. I think his chemistry with James Harden has been, growing, and the pick and roll and him just kind of finding openings has been really strong for him, and something that that's going to be his bread and butter with, offensively, at least with this team, aside from the offensive rebounding and the things that he does there, which it's always just nice. Like you just never feel like the possession is dead with him on the floor. Like you always just feel like there's going to be, he's got something left. It might end up being a foul. It might end up being something stupid. But it's gonna, it's something, right? Like you get a little bit of that with PJ Tucker. He does a lot of the offensive rebounding and stuff like that. But like Paul Reed is just on another level of madness.
Bigger, more athletic,
yeah. It's just kind of everything involved there. And I'm still waiting on the day that Doc mans up and plays Paul Reed next to Joel Embiid. I'll wait on that day. Maybe it'll come. Maybe I'll die before it comes. But one day he's gonna do it, and I will be incredibly happy. I feel like it would work. I will die on that hill. Yeah. But go ahead.
Sorry to jump in, but I don't expect it to happen. I feel like Doc's just too stubborn for it, but I absolutely think it would work. Because think about the way Joel plays offensively at this point. He's basically a big wing. Like he just kind of lurks in the mid-range, does his thing. I get these spacing concerns, and that's the thing. I'm also will not let it be forgotten that Paul Reed shot 45% from three at the G League in a year. I know it doesn't look pretty. It doesn't feel like that should be the case, but it did happen. There are records. Everyone saw it, and he was a G League MVP because of it. So he can theoretically shoot a little bit. And the mid-range jumper has looked pretty clean lately. I'm not going to lie. But anyway, the why it should work is just having a guy next to Joel to do the dirty work. Just him getting offensive rebounds and how the offense functions based on Joel essentially being a big wing at this point. They're never going to get offensive rebounds because he's out taking his shots from the mid-range doing it, which, he's leading the NBA in scoring. Obviously, something's going kind of right. But to have another option of a guy just creating just havoc on the guys trying to get a rebound, that could work out. And defensively, that's a tough team. If we're starting to look at like a roster of like Joel, Paul Reed, PJ Tucker, DeAnthony Melton, whoever else is on the court, like that's a scrappy bunch and something that helps. So yeah, I would love to be unleashed. I hope it happens. I'm not optimistic that it does.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But when you think about a series, like, in a potential series against the Bucks, like Embiid's obviously going to play a majority of the minutes, so there's only so many additional minutes to be had. And we know Paul is a guy that can play forever, unless he gets into foul trouble, which is likely. But regardless, like, if Embiid's on the bench for 3-4 minutes, whatever, and he comes back on the floor, like, why not just slide Paul up, let him be the main defender on Giannis, or, vice versa, whatever it is. Like, I just feel like gives you versatility. Might be, barking up the wrong tree here because it'll probably never happen. But theoretically, in my mind, it seems like something that could work. But I don't know if you wanted to touch on the Raptors game at all because that was a lot more fun to watch. And the Sixers kind of just kicked their ass, and it's always just fun to beat them because I really don't like them, and I really don't like Nick Nurse, and I really don't like the way that they
They
go
tanked.
about, yeah, no, legit, just like we're trying to hurt Joel Embiid. Like, it really pisses me off to like an extent. They do not care. Like, Embiid said it before. He said it a couple of times. Like, they don't care about winning. They care about trying to shut me down. They try to care about shutting down the star player, whatever it is. He's completely right. They want to just make sure that he's not getting 35, 40. And whatever, they can have that as long as the Sixers win. And I thought that was a great Harden game. So there was a lot to like there. That athletic secondary lineup led by James Harden was really on display there in that game, and it kind of matched the energy of the Raptors there too. What they're doing. So just want to get your thoughts on that one, considering it was a little bit more upbeat, a better vibe coming out of that one.
Yeah, I was in the building for that one, so that was fun. It was it was a much more enjoyable game. Felt like from the beginning they just couldn't miss because they couldn't. They were shooting 70 whatever percent from the field. It was awesome. There is just a brutal nature from this Raptors team. I do love that Joel kind of takes the shots at it through the media. He calls it out because it is how it is. They're a rough and tough team. They want to mix you up, knock you over, and that's what they do. And they're not a talented squad. They've underperformed more than they probably should have this year. I think they're better talent-wise than their record shows, but they're not contenders by any mean and pretty far down. Yeah, I was very happy. I thought it was a great James Harden game. That was probably my most positive takeaway. The one clip of him just kind of dropping OG Anunoby, like that was like if he can do this throughout the playoffs, that we're cooking with gas here coming in. It's also, I always think about when watching this Raptors team, all this talk about like Paul Reed. If Paul Reed got drafted by the Raptors, man, like he might be an all-star right now. Like he is Toronto. He is cut like a Toronto Raptors player. So I do always think about that. But yeah, overall solid to get the win. It's always nice to beat them. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time there. The Raptors are not a great team. Where are they even in the the standings right now? They're gonna play in the play-in.
I don't even believe so. I'm gonna
I
pull it
think
up
they're like
right
just on the outside there, but which is pretty brutal considering they were the 6th seed last year.
Yeah,
Does that
Sixers
sound
played
right?
them. But yeah, no, they're sitting at 9th, so they are in the play-in. So wrong on that. But yeah, they did climb. They were sitting at like 13th earlier, so they will at least have some sort of opportunity. I can't see them winning a series or a playing game against kind of any of these teams. Even the
No.
Hawks, who are as gross as they are, I still think they can beat the Raptors. The Bulls are playing good basketball, so who knows? But yeah, they will at least have a ticket in.
Yeah. Whatever. Whatever to Toronto. They can, take whatever they can back up there. I don't really want to think about them too much, so we'll move on a little bit. I want to touch on some stuff, kind of coming from that game and, comparing that game to the Bucks game. And something that's, been a little bit of a discourse on Twitter recently is Tobias Harris. We're back in the gutter with him.
Yeah.
He seems to I really don't even know what to say much about him right now. I don't know what to make of his situation right now. He obviously, was out with non-COVID illness in the Raptors game, and they played fantastic. They were spacing the floor, they were moving the ball, and then obviously come the Bucks game, he was pretty much non-existent there. Maybe recovering from that sickness, but just really has been not much of anything. Like, it's not even that he's like playing badly. It just seems like he's an afterthought entirely with this team, and he really just doesn't seem to fit all that well right now. And that's a concern considering he's your, second highest paid player and, a significant portion of your starting lineup and potentially your third or fourth option at this point. So what are you making of that difference? Obviously, it went from a 3-guard lineup to a much different lineup with Tobias going in there. Just what do you make of this situation right now?
It sucks. I mean, I do genuinely think the Sixers team is better without Tobias Harris on the floor, and that's tough to swallow. But when you look at like what they need out of him, we gave him a ton of praise early on for the season, early on in the season for being the guy that they kind of needed, being a quick twitch, quick decision, catch and shoot 3 guy. He just hasn't been that at all. And even when you look at like the second unit, which we just hyped up about, like the athletes kind of and guys that can run and gun. Like that's not Tobias either. So you can't even kind of leave him with the second unit because like how much more effective is Jalen McDaniels than Tobias Harris? Like just based on what they need and in that role. And that hurts because Jalen McDaniel, like that shouldn't be the case. They need Tobias to be a guy on this team. But yeah, I don't really know what to do. I know Doc Rivers is still gonna play him a ton. I know he's still gonna be the starting power forward, small forward, however you want to put it, with PJ Tucker also out there. I don't expect anything to move, but yeah, they got to figure out a way to get something out of him because it really has been a whole lot of nothing right now.
Yeah, it's very discouraging. I really do genuinely like Tobias, and I think that he is a good NBA player. It just like becomes increasingly more profound that he does not fit on this team. His play style, what he does well, where he gets his points, what makes him a good NBA player just is not a necessary addition to the starting lineup. Like there's so many other factors and so many things that he does not possess that would be simply just a much better fit with the group that he's playing with. And it's unfortunate because I think it gets worse on both ends. Like I don't think Tobias is as bad as he seems, and I don't think that like the Sixers would not like him. It just doesn't seem like it matches up right now. And it's gone in this fluctuation, this weird roller coaster of a career that he's had here in Philadelphia. And it just seems like more and more every day that goes by, it just seems like he's not part of this Sixers core right now. And does it seem like, post this season, however it ends, is he probably not a Sixer go next season?
You have to find a way to get off him. Like even in that Bucks game last night, I saw it was on Twitter and it was like and this is kind of like a common sense thing, but just when you just kind of see it like that, it hits you. Like the Bucks are paying Jay Crowder, Grayson Allen, Joe Ingles, and there was a couple other names in there, all combined less than Tobias Harris is making this year. And I get like I kind of get over like don't like the talk about a man's pockets kind of conversation. Like Tobias hit the market at the right time, cashed out as he should. But also from a team construction standpoint, like that makes it really difficult when you're paying a guy that much money to get not that much production. And that's what the Sixers are at right now. The issue with finding him a fit on this team is there's not a single basketball skill that he is the best at on this team. There's not one single category that it's like Tobias Harris, this can be your job. Like, is he a good 3-point shooter? Yeah, he's good, but he's not like the most elite shooter on this team. Is he an okay defender? Sure, but he's not PJ Tucker, DeAnthony Melton, guys that you can also rotate to. Can he sit in the mid-range and score? Sure, but not like Joel Embiid can, So when you kind of dive through like what they need from him, can he rebound? Like kind of, but he's not an overly great rebounder either. There's just not like a job for him. And like, again, he kind of had the catch and shoot role at the start of the year. It looked like it was clicking then, but I don't know what happened between then and now because even the quick decision-making that helped, but he's just all the way back in his own head. And I do feel like Tobias is a guy when he starts to struggle, it kind of spirals and eats at him a little bit, which is not a good trait and tough to get out of.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough because I feel like he does get a bad rep here, and it's just not. I don't like I said, I don't think that it's really necessarily like, not that it's not his fault, right? But I just feel like he is who he is. Like he's 30 years old, right? Like he's not gonna change entirely who he is as a basketball player. He's been who he is for the last 15 years. He's been in the league for a decade, right? Like you can't change the guy so much. He is who he is, and what he's good at just doesn't like really suit what the Sixers need. Like it's a tough situation because I feel like it's both sides are trying to make it work. And obviously he's been a fantastic guy here. Like I think Tobias is a top tier human, and he's been a fantastic leader in the locker room, and he's been fantastic in the community. And I think Philadelphia should show a lot of love to him, but it just feels like it's not, things are not clicking right now. And it sucks to be in that position, especially going into the playoffs here. And we can kind of roll into that conversation now. As like we said, the Sixers are kind of set it into that 3 seed, with the Nets basically set up in that 6 seed. The Heat are 2 games behind them. Can I quickly celebrate the Miami Heat downfall? I love it, dude. I love watching them stink. I love Kyle Lowry being bad. I love Jimmy Butler saying that he doesn't care and he's going to go win a playoff series. I love it. I want them to be gone as soon as possible. And maybe that's me being a hater, but it's who I am and I can't help it.
Don't count out a playoff Jimbo, man. Jimmy Butler fully locked in for the playoffs. I will not count.
Him and what army? I know.
Gabe Vincent,
right.
He's got his boys, but I do will not count them out depending on the matchup. Still not a team that I would be itching to play by any means.
Well, they're going to end up, even if they win, they're playing games. They're in a matchup with either the Bucks or the Celtics. So good luck to them. The Sixers look to match up with the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
How funny it would be. It's very poetic. It's all fun. They are not the team that they once were even 3 short months ago. So, obviously they have Mikal Bridges, and that group of lengthy wings might cause a little bit of a threat to the Sixers just based on athleticism, and something we saw, kind of similar with the Raptors last year. I actually think it's a good test for them to get going and, take down a good team to start. What do you think in just that matchup wise? Just kind of give me your thoughts on what that would look like.
Yeah, I don't think the Sixers will sweep them. I think that the Nets have enough talent that to win a game or two. The Sixers for sure should take care of that series, and if they have trouble taking care of that series, then red flags should be flying off because like this team, while like they're a better team, they're not like a bottom tier team. They're not a nothing. They're still solid. They've got Mikal Bridges is just going to be digging the knife in the Sixers fan chest for when he drops a couple 40-point games on us. Nick Claxton is awesome. I absolutely love him. They've got a ton of guys that are like cool players and solid players, but they just lack the full connectiveness and top tier talent. So this is definitely a rebuilding year for them. Rebuilding half a season based on how things blew up. But yeah, I do think it is a good test for the Sixers because they will get the test of bigger wings, which is going to be the biggest challenge for this team is the perimeter defense, especially against the top tier guys when they have to face the Jason Tatums, the Drew Holidays, the Chris Middletons, all those guys that can create in the way, Jaylen Brown. So yeah, I am kind of happy with how things are shaking out. Is there anything that you want to see out of these final 4 games or to close out the season, or is it just literally get there in your mind?
Yeah, I'd love to see them beat. They got 2 good games this week. Like, right, you see the Celtics on Tuesday, you see Miami on Thursday. There's good opportunities there to, go out, play good games, put together solid games, find a flow in that offense again, kind of what you saw against the Raptors, and quite the opposite of what you saw against the Bucks. But really, dude, the important part right now, especially, get there healthy. If Joel is healthy, if James is healthy, if Tyrese is healthy, and we get there fine, then I'm not worried, right? Like I will forget immediately about a loss against the Celtics or the Heat if Joel Embiid walks into game 1 of the playoffs feeling fully healthy like we saw him the last couple of weeks. That's what I need. I don't really care about anything else, but obviously you'd love to see, you don't want to get your ass kicked again. Like you got your ass kicked against the Bucks last night. Like, please don't get your ass kicked against the Celtics and the Heat. Like that would make me feel pretty bad, but it's all about health right now. What about you?
Yeah. For the most part, the same. Health for sure. Number one, they do have the final game of the season will be against the Nets too. So there will be probably a little playoff preview there. We'll see what kind of gamesmanship there is on who actually suits up for the Sixers and for whoever else.
Nobody's playing in that game.
Yeah.
Nobody's playing in that game.
Probably not. But I would like to see a final push. I'm still like, I get the MVP conversation has turned as toxic as it could possibly get. I am still team Joel should go for this thing. I would like if he can have like a convincing performance against the Celtics, to me that should lock things up, and I would like to see that. I want him to get this. He deserves it. He's earned it, and it feels so close that I don't want it to be like lumbering through, and whether it's all semantics and him acting and like I don't care, I'm just gonna focus, or whether that's actually how he feels, because I could see that based on like him being like, well, I gave it my all these past 2 years to get it, and you guys still don't want to give it to me, and I'm not even gonna try it. Like I can see that too. But I want him to go for it. I want him to get it, not at the cost of his health by any means, but let him get his 30 to 35 and get his shots up and do his thing. That's still important to me.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And like that would come with them winning these games, right? Like if they could take down the Celtics and the Heat this week and Joel have Joel type of games, I'm all for it, man. I think even in on nights like last night, like there was a whatever game, kind of top to bottom for him. Defensively, he's just been different recently. And I wish people would recognize that as much of an impact as it is. Like, I think people are like, when they weigh the options between him and Jokic, it's always like, yeah, Embiid is the better defender. But it's like Joel Embiid at Joel Embiid's best defensively is one of the best defensive players in the entire world. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, I think the gap is so much larger than people give credit for. Like, Joel Embiid is a monster on that end of the floor. So seeing all of that, he's going to do his thing. I'm hopeful that he will end up with it. Obviously, Jokic is missing a handful of games here,
Same calf
suspiciously with a
injury.
calf injury. Yeah, no, you got to be really careful with those. That's all I'll say. You got to be really careful with those injuries. You never know. Got to be cautious and get to the playoffs, right? Like that's the main focus right now. So everybody relax. It's going to be all right. I'm not poking fun at them. I'm being dead serious. But, they have a chance here for Joel to put this award away. And then it's legit. We got to forget about it. Like, I can't do this anymore. It's so annoying.
Got to be this year.
It's got to be this year. And then, I don't care if he's never in an MVP conversation again. Like, move on from him. I don't care. It's whatever. So, I'm good on that. But
real quick, as far as the defense thing, because I agree, I feel like this gets brought off often. Do you think Joel Embiid's a better defender than Giannis?
That's interesting. Better rim protector, but not a better perimeter defender.
Okay.
Like, I think you could argue that Giannis is more versatile, like more switchable.
Mhm.
Not that Joel Embiid can't switch, because he definitely can. We see it every night.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, I'm more comfortable if Giannis ends up on, like, Steph Curry. Not that I don't even, that's a bad example. You know what you're trying to, you get what I'm trying to say. Like, I think Giannis can step out and be a little bit more effective beyond the free throw line than Joel. But, like, I think when it comes to back to the basket or, recovering on a block shot, dude, he blocks layups and dunks every single night.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. Like, go watch another NBA game. Like, those type of blocks by starting MVP caliber centers, like, just doesn't happen. So, yeah, I think that's a good question, though. I think they're definitely in the same realm.
Yeah, I think they're pretty in the same realm too. I think they're pretty close. And this is another thing that like doesn't get recognized or doesn't get brought up, and this is only from watching the Sixers on like a sick level of oftenness. But like Joel is, I think, more important to the team defensively than Giannis is. I mean, he
Sure.
obviously has Brook Lopez next to him, who's a defensive player of the year character. Drew Holiday, who's an elite perimeter defender. Like he's got guys around him. And Joel, I just see like the way he like quarterbacks the defense is super impressive to me. Like he's constantly calling out where guys need to be, how they need to rotate, that kind of thing. So there's something to that about me that sticks out to me too. The way he takes leadership on that side of the court. It is interesting because I also think when it gets brought up in this like MVP conversation, like one of the knocks that I've seen is like Joel's kind of like a middleman in things. Like he's not as good offensively as Jokic, but as good defensively as Giannis, which I don't think is necessarily true. So I kind of was interested in your thoughts on that. And I do think they're pretty similar, Giannis and Embiid. They're definitely in the same tier.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's a question. I don't know where you might rank them. I wanted to point that out, was something you said as well. Like Joel gets some credit for being, a high IQ player. Like he's an incredibly intelligent person.
Yeah.
And then
time.
on top of that, he's like a very, very smart basketball player, which is interesting considering that, he's been playing the game for less than a decade. So like he's got a lot of nuance in his defensive game. Like I love watching him play. Like he'll play that help defense and he'll quick get his 2 feet out on the left side of the lane and then jump back in, cover the right side of the lane, get his 2 feet out. Like he is really intentional about the way that he protects the rim. And it's something that you don't see a lot. It's something that like there's certain guys in the NBA that have that type of ability and IQ, and there's some guys that just don't. And Joel, on top of his, incredible athletic ability, quick feet and strong body, and long arms, everything that comes into being a great rim protector and defender. And on top of that, he's incredibly smart. So, it's so difficult to rank those two. Like Giannis is a beast as well. And I think if you're gonna go, 1, 2, 3 of those guys, like I think Giannis is making that case to be number 2. So good for him as well. I don't know. I don't even know what to make of this conversation anymore. There's so much like fluctuation that I don't even bother anymore. I just, everyone knows my opinion at this point.
Yeah, and I feel myself getting a little fired up on it again, so I'll leave it after this one. But
Yeah.
for the record, Giannis has missed more games than Joel Embiid has this year. And also, when you do it by minutes and not by games, Jokic has only played a little over a game more than Joel has. So Joel has logged significantly more minutes per game than Jokic. And if you want to add it like that, and if Jokic keeps sitting out, like I believe it's on track for him to end up playing 3 more games than Embiid, which like it's 3 games, man. Like this, we're not talking this drastic difference, and I get it. But yeah, I do hope things shake out in Joel's favor. And I also don't like everyone being all like, I don't want to see you want MVP, or I don't want you to care about the individual awards. Like it's the same thing with the All-Star. I feel like Joel gets in like a bad rap for like caring about the All-Star game too. It's like all we do is complain that guys don't care about the All-Star game, and then when a guy actually tries, we're gonna like kill him for it. And same with the MVP. Like it should be fine that he wants to openly get it. Like I don't know. I just hate everybody is awful at every part of this. Every single person.
They're gonna move the goalpost no matter what. We know this. They hate him. Like
They do.
And he did touch on this in the poorly timed Athletic article that came out. It was rough, but regardless, like he did touch on it. Like he's not well liked. People around the league do not like him, and people will talk about him flopping and then go around and defend Nikola Jokic and go around and defend Giannis and go around and defend Steph Curry and defend all these guys. Like everybody in the league flops. If you don't like flopping, turn the NBA off. Period. You're not getting anywhere in this league without seeing guys, grift for fouls. It's part of the game. And if you think that your guys in the 90s and 2000s they were all doing it. They're doing it a different way, but they were all doing it. So don't do that. And don't act like your favorite player doesn't do it. It happens, right? Embiid is an elite shot creator. I'm not even going to do it. I'm not going to do it. We're going to move on.
I'll ask one more. Do you think it's just the flopping? Why else do you think Joel's hating? Is it a Philly thing? Is it the trolling from when he first came in? I think that's a part of it too. But I guess it's just all of the above. Is it him? Because I don't understand why he's as disliked as he clearly is, for sure.
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't know if it's a good question because I don't understand it. Like by all accounts, Joel is a really great guy. He has an incredible story. For his life. Like he is one in a million, one in a billion humans. Like his story is one of a kind, and it's sad and it's tough. And like he's not supposed to be here, and he is everything beyond what he was supposed to be. And it's something that I feel like people should appreciate. Like people appreciate Giannis's story and talk about it. Like there was a freaking
movie. There was a movie.
Yeah, there was a literal movie made about Giannis and his brothers. And like Joel Embiid, not comparing them, it's entirely different. But Joel Embiid had a really insane story. His upbringing is unreal, and the whole story with his brother and everything, like everything he had to go through. And he's here, and he's one of the best players, if not the best player in the NBA, against all odds. And people just despise him. And I really don't know if it is the process or, when there was the whole thing with Ben and he's a byproduct of it, or if it was. I really don't know. I don't know what it is about him, but we love him, and I would die for him to be here for the rest of his career. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I've never been fully able to put my finger on that too, because it's very negative discourse around him nationally for sure, and it's only gotten worse in recent years as he's kind of cut out a lot of the nonsense in him too. Like he's not a guy who has Twitter fingers anymore. He's not a guy who does these like gets into altercations on the court as he once did for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that still sticks with him, but it feels like the more like he's kind of cleaned himself up and been on the straight and narrow, like the more he's disliked nationally, which just makes zero sense to me. And yeah, it is a real bummer because this guy has got an amazing story, amazing human being. Everyone that interacts with him and has been close to him has spoke extremely highly of him. Even there's guys like Jimmy Butler who doesn't like anybody in the world who speaks highly about Joel every time he gets a chance. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me, but yeah, I am happy he represents the Philadelphia 76ers. Happy he's here, and he embodies this era of basketball and this team more than anyone. So I do think that's why I'm such in the corner of would love for him to get MVP and be recognized for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that goes with James Harden as well. Like I think people have always hated him, and that's he played a very specific type of basketball that I know people don't like. I had this argument at work. Like I had this exact argument at work this morning, and I was like, I will go to bat for those two any day of the week. Like I love watching them play basketball. They're both incredibly talented, and the history books will not favor them, unfortunately. But it would be nice to see Joel go home with something that down the line. Like I was gonna say, like I think people look back at certain players with rose-colored glasses and love those guys, and as they should. But I hope that Philadelphia isn't the only city and the only fan base that will look back on Joel Embiid's career and appreciate the greatness that we've seen in such a short period of time, man. Like he's only been at this level for like what 6 years. So it's an incredible thing. But
yeah, and For the James Harden stuff, like I get, like it's for sure the on court stylistic stuff that people dislike, the isolation heavy, the him dribbling the ball as much as he did, guys just standing around watching him. Is also, do you remember when he had the beef with Giannis back in Harden's
Yes.
MVP days? Like him talking about how it doesn't take any skill to just be that big and run and dunk, basically. So kind of funny. There's a little bit of a full circle moment now with Joel getting for it. So it is cool. I think James is definitely in Joel's corner for that too. But yeah, I it does bother me a little bit with Joel. Like I can give you Harden, and I also think Harden's more obnoxious about the foul grifting and flopping than Embiid is. Embiid's just bigger, so I think that comes with it too. But yeah, I get it for Harden, and I've come to terms with Harden. He's a guy who I don't think gets the recognition for just how good he was in his prime and when he was in those days in Houston, because there's just never going to be offensive performances like that. At that higher usage rate, at that efficiency is pretty unreal stuff, and should be remembered that way. But yeah, who knows? Hopefully they can fight their playoff demons together, both of them.
Yeah, it would be nice to see, and it's kind of a recurring theme here, right? We get to see potentially the Nets in a playoff series. Been there before. A lot of history between the two teams, and a lot of intricate cross wirings there between the squads and the players involved there. So should be a lot of fun. I feel like I know, even with the way that they looked the other night and kind of the way that this season is on, the trajectory right now, I'm super excited for the playoffs, and I can't wait to see this team in the playoffs again, because I'm excited, and I don't care about past experiences, and I don't care about the way this other seasons have ended. I love playoff basketball, and I think this might be the year, as long as Joel Embiid is healthy, that they make a legit run, because he's the best player in the world, and they have a chance as long as he's on the court. And
Yeah,
that's where I stand.
and that is the quickest way to make the reputation, or however you want to put it, change, is
Yes.
getting it done in the playoffs. So if Joel can do that, he's talked about how he's in a better shape physically than it has kind of been the case in years past as far as injuries go and stuff like that. So yeah, let's see it. Let's make it happen. And yeah, hopefully this is the year. So yeah, I think we
Yeah,
can
man.
wrap things up there, but appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe on this video, on this channel, if you have not already. We will get back with you after this is the final week of the regular season now. So we will get back with you next time with a little playoff preview and go a little more in depth on the most likely Nets matchup. But thank you and peace.